This is Daniel Choi, a developer, and Daniel, you're talking about APIs. What's an API?
An API stands for Application Programming Interface, and that's basically something that programmers like me can use to build new things out of content from different sites like Netflix or the New York Times or YouTube. We basically can use our imaginations to combine YouTube videos and New York Times articles and maybe Netflix movie catalogs to come up with wild new ways of finding good things to watch or read, or just entertaining yourself, or just finding out cool things about the world.
You talked about an API, a relationship that you've created with the New York Times and Netflix. Tell me about that.
So it's like Reese's peanut butter cups. You take chocolate and peanut butter and you put it together and you produce something that's even better than both by themselves. So basically what I did was I took New York Times movie reviews and combined it with the Netflix movie catalog, and produced a list of Netflix movies that you can see right away that are New York Times movie review critics picks. So, I mean, if you respect New York Times movie reviews and you really want to watch a good movie, you can pretty much just go to my site and see the list of all those movies right there.
And what's the site?
It's called InstantWatcher.com.
InstantWatcher.com. And when you talk about being open source, the New York Times has an open source API. What does that mean?
Basically, it means that the New York Times makes it easy for programmers like me to do stuff with their data. And their data is basically their movie reviews, their articles, their book reviews. So if we come up with a good idea for how to use that data in a new way, like combine New York Times movie reviews with Netflix movie catalog data, we can do it. We're free to use our imaginations and come up with these things called mashups that combine all these sources of data in very useful ways.
Okay. Let me ask you this really quickly, too. We're going to slide over a little bit because somebody came right behind us, literally. And I want to make sure your sound is still good.
Okay.
So the last question basically is, what is the benefit for a New York Times or a USA Today to offer an open source API?
I think APIs are really good because they basically democratize your content. They let people from the street, random programmers who just have a good idea, to take your content and use their imaginations and produce something wild, new, cool, useful out of it. It basically liberates your audience and your consumers to become producers, too. It's like, in music, you have mashups in music where people take little bits from here and there and they produce a brand new song of their own. So it's basically turning passive consumers into creators. And I think that's a great thing wherever you can make that happen.
How do you make your money?
So my site, Instant Watcher, gets a lot of traffic. It gets over 100,000 visitors a month, and basically I get ad revenue from that. So I make a couple $1,000s a month, and it's growing, and it's great because I love working on it. I love making improvements. I love making things better for Netflix users, and being able to do it and get paid for it is pretty cool.
So what I hear you saying, though, you're not getting paid by the New York Times or USA Today. When they do an open source project, They're basically getting free labor. They're getting a free employee who may really love their content and create new ways for other people to get access to it. Is that correct?
That's correct. New York Times isn't paying me, and I'm actually sending users over to New York Times to read movie reviews that are basically collecting dust otherwise, So I think it's great for everyone.
Thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'd say APIs are great. Try to encourage companies to build them, and look out for new mashups on the web.